Okay, so we're going to start our accounts meeting tonight, and it's Tuesday, April 19, and it's 6:05. So last meeting that we had back in February, we were discussing regarding staffing issues, and we left that hanging. So I wanted to just ask Anne Marie to give us an update on how the office is doing regarding staff and where we're at. Because that was the concerning issue that we had last time, so.
We have not hired anybody new as of yet. We're still down 4 positions. One has been posted and we're just waiting to do the interviews. And then we have the 2 people to interview. We're just sending out letters. And then we have 2 more positions that will be advertised this week.
So the position that has been posted, you said was payroll, correct?
Correct.
But on the budget, it says that you are staffed with 10 positions. So how many people do you have at the office at this point working?
We have 4 in the office and then myself.
So yeah, you're very understaffed. And how come the other positions are not posted? Can you just explain what you're explaining regarding the office rearrangement, just so that?
We talked about maybe we talked about, we discussed maybe if we needed to make some changes in the office with the types of positions that we have, but we decided what we had was adequate. We just need to advertise and get some people in. So we were just.
So what are the other 2 positions that you're going to be advertising? So that way we'll help it spread the word and hopefully get some applications in.
We're going to be advertising for the accountant. It will have to go through the union first. If nobody applies through the union, then it'll go out to the public. The other position, we did advertise once back in October. It was the technical and compliance person in my office, and we had no one internal or external apply for the position. So we were working on the job description, and we're going to be re-advertising that one. So that was one of the discussions we had because nobody applied for it.
And Councilor D'Agostino.
Thank you. So I'm just wondering, is there certain things or anything in particular that, like, it sounds like you've advertised some of these positions, they haven't been applied for. Do you have any feeling or gauge on what the roadblock might be that's making them unattractive?
Well, we haven't advertised for the accounting position yet. She left us the 1st of March. The technical and compliance person, that one's kind of it's a tough position to fill. They do fixed assets and inventory and capital projects and GASB. It's a little bit more of a difficult position, and I think our biggest hurdle is the residency. So hopefully we discussed different places that we might be able to advertise the position. So we've been working on it with HR, and hopefully we'll have better luck this time. HR is now doing, they've gone out to a couple of colleges for job fairs, so trying to get people interested. So I'm hoping that helps, give new college or recently graduating or graduating college students an opportunity to see what the city might offer. So hopefully that will work. So we're looking at different ways of advertising.
Right. All right. And I imagine that technical compliance position isn't something you could hire. You need somebody with some substantial experience for that position, but maybe some of the other things you have for positions, people could be trained. If you got, like you went to college fairs, if you got somebody like that, are they positions where we could train somebody that maybe doesn't quite have the experience?
Well, you need some experience. The accounting position, you do need some, some experience there. We prefer, at least an associate's degree in accounting. And the payroll, no, the payroll person could be trained. We do have, we had 4 people apply for the job.
Okay.
We have 2, hopefully that will interview. So we've got different ranges in our office of different
Right.
employees.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Okay, thank you for the updates, and I guess the Council Fowler, do you have any questions regarding staffing, or can we just proceed to?
I was just going to ask a general question. Mr. Capola, we've compensated him now about to $68,000 through this warrant, which is February. And I don't know what he does for the office, but has there ever been a thought of bringing in another paid person to perhaps do the work that he does, so that you have someone on staff and you could cross-train that person? Now, he is a CPA, so it might be very difficult to get a CPA to work for what the initial salary would be. But I just wondered where I'm just guessing that we might top out at maybe, what, $80,000 for FY '23 with 22, I'm sorry, 22 for Mr. Capola. Would that be a fair guesstimate?
We usually do about 100,000.
Okay.
And he's been with the city, since 1999, I believe.
Yeah, a long time. Yeah.
He's been the one steady person in that office, since 99. He came in when the city was having issues, and came in and balanced all the books. And he has been a huge asset to our office. He's our internal auditor. And he knows his stuff. He's kept this office running smoothly, through all the transitions of different department heads. And yes, we could definitely, hopefully bring in somebody. He's not gonna be here forever. So, we are looking into, maybe bringing someone in to start doing some of his work. And technical and compliance person also works, with the auditors, but they're more of gathering the information. Dominic is more of the, entering all the information into the system for the financial statements, audited financial statements. He works with, our outside auditors. So it's definitely somebody, if we could find the right person, we could definitely bring somebody internal.
Because it is 100,000 for a part-time job, correct? He doesn't
Correct.
work for, well, I mean, it's not up to us to micromanage your office, but it's just a thought that if you start getting up to that compensation level where it might be wise to have a full-time person, that's a conversation you could have with the mayor and take it from there. So that's all I have on staffing, Madam Chair.
Okay. So now we can begin reviewing the warrants. So we'll just start with P22-091. I had a question on page 22. And it just says for Leonard Egerton, which it says other charges and expenditure for $9,769.
That is it's actually a company called Frugal Bookstore, and they purchased, books for the Gilmore School. I have to look into why the report doesn't do both lines when it's a company name and a person's name, why it doesn't print out both of them, but that's Frugal Bookstore.
Have you looked into the other system that we had talked about regarding putting in more information, maybe instead of Munis having a different software doing the reports, maybe for the next fiscal year?
We are updating Munis to the next level, and as soon as we get some more information on that, I'm hoping that the new version of Munis will be more updated and give us a little bit more information, be able to have the opportunity to run different reports.
Anyone else have any other questions on this warrant? Okay, Councilor Fowler.
Yeah, just a few. I noticed that on page 6, and I probably should know the answer to this, we compensated the town of Avon for land taxes, $71,916. So that must be something we own in their town, and we owe them property taxes? Is that, offhand, do you know what it is? Is it the Avon Reservoir, or?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
Would you like me to?
Well, just, yeah, it just jumped out at me that given their tax rate, that's not a minor figure. So whatever we own over there for $71,000, it's got to be valuable. Madam Chair, the other thing I would like to ask is that the next accounts meeting, we have Michael Morris come in. I spoke with him after our last meeting about Amazon, and we are just keeping Amazon well compensated for so many different things, and that starts on page, that starts on page 2, and the year-to-date is now $620,434, and it's instructional supplies. It's, well, as my colleague mentioned, contract services, textbooks, and I think I even found office, well, there is an office supply, $847.99, and my understanding is we have a bid and a contract with WB Mason, and I just would like to look at that entire issue of having people basically split what they're purchasing among maybe perhaps schools or offices here, purchasing from Amazon, and could we in fact consolidate determine what we need to buy and then go through a procurement process and get away from Amazon, because some of their prices are better, but as an Amazon customer myself, some of them are actually higher. And that is, again, through February, if it's 620,000, you know, we'll probably get up another couple of $100,000, maybe.
Counselor Farwell, from the last meeting, I did look in WB Mason. We have spent more with them so far this year than Amazon. Not that it matters,
Yeah.
but you did ask at the last meeting, so I did look that up.
It just seems to be a duplication of where we can buy pursuant to a bid, either locally or another bid in Amazon. And I just have a feeling that people are taking an easier way out and just hopping on the computer, purchasing something from Amazon, having it shipped where they want it shipped. And I just would like to have, again, not to micromanage, but I'd like to have the procurement officer to come in and talk about that a little bit. And, you know, whatever we decide to do, it certainly wouldn't be effective this year. I think the auditor is quite correct. We should get the upgraded Muni system, find out what the limits are of that new system, if any, and then do the best we can from there. Because we really can't do anything until we know the capability of that new system.
I've saw a small or a short presentation on it, and it is a lot better.
It is?
Yeah, the capabilities of it, I just didn't get into it as deep as I wanted to. I just haven't had the time to go back in.
Okay, now let me look. I think the last one for this warrant, at least I think so, is on page, actually it's It's on page 1 of the cash disbursement journal. And it looks to me, and I'll let the auditor explain, that we returned pretty significant sums to the Commonwealth for unexpended grant funds. At the top of that page 1 on the cash disbursement journal, $68,186, $6,193, and $19,161. I'm going to guess that that might be a grant that's compensating us for EMD training, and after we compensated everyone, we had money left over, and obviously we wouldn't just,
Cash disbursement is, those are for voids,
those are what?
voids.
Okay, I'm glad I asked. So so in other words, we issued checks, but then we took them back, or we voided them?
Yes.
Okay. That makes me feel better. Madam Chair, I think that's it for this particular warrant. For me.
Okay. Councilor D'Agostino.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And I have similar questions when we get to the next warrant, and it's always when we get to these contract services is the description. And it's like, well, sometimes I can figure out what that means based on the vendor, right? And other times that doesn't tell me anything. Like, now I don't know what four-wall entertainment, maybe I could figure out what that is, but again, contract services, $757.
What page are you on?
Oh, I'm sorry, page 1.
Oh. Well, entertainment, that was for a monitor for the stage director at the Fine Arts Building at the high school.
Okay. Right, and then, you know, again, to my colleague, Councilor Farwell's point about Amazon. Contract, you know, we go through, right, other instructional materials, $600, instructional materials, $15, instructional supplies, $6.99. Contract services, $11,977. We don't get any detail on the $11,000 one, but we get details on $6.99. So again, I think I agree with my colleague that we need to do some work there. Again, another one, 847 other contract services, you know. Then there's some individuals in here on page 5. The vendor number is 16609. It's $1,800, 2 payments under contract services, year-to-date, $46,000. What's he doing for us? You know?
He works for the school, he's a mentor. He has two different contracts because he has 2 different jobs
Okay.
for the school department.
And again, if it was, you know, mentoring, great. Now I know what that contract's for. And don't get me wrong, I mean, you know, obviously everybody knows just a few months ago, I was on the school side and I was on accounts review asking the same question as, what does that guy do for us? So this is, you know, nothing new.
I mean, the GL description, I know we talked about this at the meeting. I mean, there's just so much we can do without creating, you know, 500 pages of object codes that we have to go through.
Right.
So I understand what you're asking under the GL description. It's the GL description. It's not the invoice description.
Right. But I mean, it's just, I'm sure you understand too, that, you know, it's, if the purpose of this body, this subcommittee is to review the things that the city is spending money on and to be aware of where it's going and, you know, and partially, you know, it's part of the accountability piece of city government, right? Other contract services, community counseling of Bristol County. Okay, what did they, you know, it's just helps us to be able to do what we're here to do, you know, as far as the accountability to the taxpayer goes. So I'm not trying to be difficult or give you a hard time or give my former colleagues, if you will, a hard time on the school side. It's just, I had the same gripes over there. Trust me, your counterpart will tell you that, you know, other contract services drove me nuts for the entire 6 years I was over there. So if we can just, I don't know, there's got to be a way that we can start to get a little more information on those items, those contract services items. And again, when it's in, under Amazon, I know we order all these little things and we get the detail of this $6 charge is instructional supplies, but then contract services, 11 grand. What did we spend $11,000 on? So again, I mean, that's really all I have is those couple of items I mentioned, and then just, again, reiterating the concerns we raised last time for a little more detail on those other contract services so that we know what the heck we're looking at. That's all. And I apologize. I feel bad. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm really not. I'm just
That's fine.
trying to do my job.
Right, I'm just, trying to explain the difference, I understand what you're saying, but the account description is different than what the invoice description is. I mean, we ask for that information, as you're probably aware of looking at the bills over at the school side.
Right.
We make sure all that information is there, but I understand your frustration on this. So I'm hoping, with the new system, they give us another line, maybe. We'll have to look at it.
Right. I mean, and it doesn't always have to be like this, how specific it is, like instructional materials, I know what that is. Like now I understand I have an idea of what they bought. That's all I'm looking for is enough for me to go, oh, okay, I know where that $11,000 went. What
Right. No, I understand.
the benefit to the city was, and so that's all. That's really all I have on this particular warrant. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, Councilor Powell?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I have one more, and my colleague just brought me to that page by accident. Here's an example, and I'll just let you research this.
What page are you on?
I'm on page 7 of P22 091. BAS Holding Corporation, to date, $282,415 for building rental. I have no idea what the address is. I have no idea the size of the building. I have no idea who's leasing it. I have no idea why we're leasing a building at that cost. A resident might ask me, if they hear that we're leasing a building, why, where is it, and for what purpose? So if you would research that one for us.
The school department bus depot.
Excuse me?
It's the school department bus depot.
It's the school department bus depot. Okay, the new one at the fairgrounds?
I don't know the address.
EAS, what page is
Yes,
that
I
on?
have no idea what that would be.
What
But
page is that on?
that's on page 7,
7.
and it's vendor number 17733. And to date, it's 282,415. So if we could just check that out, because that's, even if it said school bus depot or something, then a bell would go off in my head and I'd say, okay, I know what we're talking about. But you can see where that can kind of leave you up in the air as to.
And I'm not, not to repeat myself again, but it's just, I understand having that description, but it's also in my head thinking about all the different codes, and then when you're doing a PO and then having to go through 500 pages of codes to find the right one that fits, it could be very time consuming. So, maybe we could work on better descriptions, but not to the point of detail that it's the bus depot, but I don't know.
So this,
Something.
maybe I'm not grasping this. So in other words, when you get to this line item, someone in your office has a drop-down box and it's got a code that says building rent /L, whatever.
No, it's the department that is creating the PO.
Okay,
So each school is totally different, so you might have better understanding than this because their setup is different than ours. We set ours up by department.
Yeah.
So like when you agree to the budget every year in the budget book, and you have certain categories, goods and services or personal services. So under that, we have other contractual services. So when they go in to do their PO, depending on what they're buying, if it's supplies or if it's a contract for something, they'll pick that line item. But within that PO, they have to they type in a description. in the PO
Okay, and then they
field.
export it to you, and that's how it ends up on
Then we
this.
get the PO with the backup of the invoice, and we make sure, we don't check every GL account, but we make sure that the backup to that PO is everything that we need, the description, the service, what type of service they performed, if it's a lease agreement, that
Okay.
type of stuff. So we get into that detail, so it's not in the GL account description.
Oh, I see.
So any improvements would actually have to have, and I think we touched on this, would have to have the cooperation of the school department personnel when they input the information.
Yes, any department would, yes, we
Yeah.
would have to have the corporation, and it's, what is set up in Munis, the school does have the ability to set up some codes, but most of the time it comes out of our office. I shouldn't say that, the school has the ability to create most of theirs, because they have so many different accounts and grants. So we could create more object codes, but on top of that, we only have so many object codes that we
Yeah.
can create in Munis also. So, maybe we can come to a middle ground on the descriptions instead of just other contractual services. Maybe we can do, a little bit more description, but not to the point that it's narrowing it down to one vendor that we're paying.
Right. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. So now let's go on to the next warrant, B22-111. And on page 2, it has the Alta Enterprises, and it says it's for 109,620. And it says net school spending, and the emphasis is on extra.
It's just, we have to have so much that, we have on the city side that's for, net school spending. So it's just one line item of the amount of money that we have to put in. And then the school, can spend that money. This particular one was for a, 70s, I think it was a 78-inch skid steer, front bucket and rear loader, that they purchased. I wish I knew more about how they calculate the net school spending, but it's a certain amount that we have to have on the city side, to offset for the school budget.
Okay, I had also questions on the other contract services, but we've already discussed them, so I won't go in details with them. So on page 6, we have Blanchard Electric, and it's for facility maintenance, and it gives, it adds up to $5,727. Do we know which building or?
I don't know the buildings, they're from most of them are from the school. The last one on the list for the 365 was public property. They bought some supplies. Usually it's just supplies that we buy through them.
Oh, so this is just supplies that we're purchasing from this vendor? Okay.
Correct.
On page 8, for legal purposes, we spent the $27,000, but then year-to-date, it was $113,331. The question is that the legal department, they increased the number of attorneys, but we're still sending out cases. What do we know about these types of cases that they're sending out, that we're still getting these large amount of monies being paid out to outside counsel?
I don't have much information on that. I know sometimes we have to go out and use outside counsel, but I'm not sure every single one of them. We don't get a lot of the information ourselves. We get dates of service, like when they've done work for us, we'll get the day that they worked. We don't get a lot of description either.
And then you just have to make out the check and make sure it gets paid, and that's
Well, a lot of the stuff that comes out of the law office is confidential, so you can't.
And the other one is page 12, the Constellation New Energy. And that adds up to at least what was paid, $241,947, but in the year-to-date is $407,149. This is an interesting one, so they're doing all the projects in the city for lighting, street lighting, and
It's not all street lighting, it's just, there's, trying to remember back when we took on Constellation, it's a fee under the electrical that we have to pay. Like, I don't know if it's like an outsourced type of thing with the electrical. I'll have to get more information on that. It's through, I think finance handles that.
so this is just like an electricity bill? Oh, wow. I was getting excited. I thought it was actually doing,
Yeah, I think there's a calculation that's involved in that, but yeah, no, it's another fee we have to, it's another electrical we have to pay.
okay. And then on page 19, it says French River Education Center, and it says undistributed, 4,500.
French River Education Center, is that the one you were?
Yes.
Actually, there was a course that some of the teachers took through French River Education. And we paid for that class that they took.
And then on page 23, maybe this is another class too, Homeless Training Institute for tuition and training for $899. All the way in the bottom, page 23.
27?
23.
23, all right. That was through the, it was through the, library. I'm not sure, it looks like it was usually we only use tuition and training for our employees to take some type of class.
But this was someone from the library?
It was from the
Okay.
library, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Other councilors have questions on this one? Okay. Councilor D'Agostino.
Thank you. Okay. So to just clarify earlier, there was a question about the net school spending. I mean, that's basically through the Chapter 70 formula, that's the city's contribution that we have to send over to the school side to add to what the state gave us. And obviously that, I didn't realize it came back this way, though. It just kind of goes into that lump category of net school spending.
It's actually, yeah, it's on the city side, so they send their invoices over.
Oh, I see, because
We
that's
do
the
the-
city's
yeah.
contribution. Gotcha. Did not know that. Great, okay. All right, so Commonwealth Consulting Agency, on page 11, you know, it's only two invoices of $1,000, $12,000 year-to-date, but again, and rather than giving you a hard time about other contract services, do you know what they did for us?
Commonwealth Consulting.
Yeah,
If I remember correctly, it had something to do with hiring. But I will double check because I'm not 100% sure.
okay. I would like to know, yeah, exactly what we consulted with them on.
It's through a grant, so maybe it wasn't hiring, now that I think about it.
All right,
I don't think we'd pay that through a grant. So let me look that up for you and I'll have it for the next meeting.
all right, that would be fine. The next item, we've already talked about contract services, and I assume this Daniel J. Quirk, that, you know, we bought some vehicles given the $49,000 price on 3 items. But again, we've talked about, in the last meeting too, it'd be nice to know, what were those vehicles? Were they school police cruisers? Were they Brockton police cruisers? Were they?
Which one are you on?
Page 13, Daniel J. Quirk, Inc.
Okay.
I'm, like I said, I'm guessing
Yeah,
49 grand, those are
They were 3
vehicles.
trucks for the school department.
School trucks, perfect. All right, thank you. What else did I have? And do we have, Counselor Mendez brought up outside counsel, and I've been trying to find that in here. I'm curious what the year-to-date total on that item is.
I think it was,
Didn't see it.
it's on page 8.
How did I miss that?
It was 113,000 for the year so
Okay,
far.
page 8. Oh, all right, that's under this legal, 113.
Legal, yes.
Okay, okay, all right, so that's outside counsel. Okay. All right. Let's see. Page 26, the item is 22929. If I try and say that person's name, I'm gonna mess it up. Again, contract service, what was that?
Piano tuning.
Piano tuning, okay. Don't know if I have anything else on this one. And I assume this is probably a school site item too. 38, page 38, 4624, Old Colony YMCA down the bottom.
Those ones are all school.
They're what?
Those are all school
Okay.
accounts. They're a grant. It's
I
from a
figured they
grant.
were. And then finally, and again, this just may be because I'm still getting used to the way things are laid out here on the city side of, one-time vendor and, you know, real estate tax adds up to 304,000. It just, what is that?
All right, so on the real estate refunds, when we do those, when they overpay or whatever reason they have a refund come with them, instead of taking all the vendor numbers, a one-time vendor number eats up all our vendor numbers, we can do a 999, which on the warrant itself is a one-time vendor. Then we have a batch, which I believe we attached this time. On the back of it, it lists out everyone that got a real estate refund.
Okay.
It's saving us on vendor numbers in the system.
Gotcha.
But we attach the report that the tax collector sends up to us to process on the warrant.
Okay, and then these are, I see, there they are. Okay. Okay. That is very helpful. That connects the dots for me. Okay. I think that was, yeah, that's all I had on this one. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Counselor Farwell.
Just picking up on the very back of the attachment on the, on this particular warrant. All of those are the real estate tax refunds. You said that are listed under one-time vendor. In other words, they would match up at some point. Is that correct?
When I sign off on the warrant, I'll take those reports at the back and I add them up and make sure they balance to what's on the warrant. So I'll add up every single one of them.
But I mean, in terms of who is getting what relief, I noticed there's an awful lot of people on a drive that for some reason are getting tax refunds. But it doesn't obviously give any names. It just says, it's all done through the Orloff Company in Wayland. There's another company
Yeah,
that's
they-
mentioned.
They must own a bunch of properties in town. I don't know the reason why they get their refunds.
Okay. And as Counselor D'Agostino said, it is not to give anyone a hard time, but these are public documents. I mean, we can all agree these are public documents. It is absolutely worthless, and I don't mind spending the time going through these page by page, but it's absolutely worthless to do that if you don't have the level of detail that helps you understand the money is being transferred from the city, from the overlay account, I presume, to this person because of a real estate adjustment. And I just, Madam Chair, that is just something that we've got to work on between now and July 1st. Because the average citizen would have every right to say, okay, I want to know everything about the entries on that document. And it should be easy to understand, and certainly should be easy for us to understand. Because I have no idea why all of those apartments or condominiums on Honor Drive have so many rebates. If there were some names attached, I might understand. Maybe it's a real estate developer who was able to convince the assessors that he's being overcharged. But just lacking that level of detail makes it really hard, so. And that's not you now, that's the people who are sending you the documentation, and then you have to research if you don't know. You've got to spend time doing it, and so both of us are kind of, you know, in the same boat.
But that's our job.
It is,
To
yeah.
research it and audit it and make sure that things are being paid out. The real estate, I don't go to the treasurer and ask him why.
No?
You know, that goes through the assessors and through the tax collector. You know, so they make that determination.
Right over here?
We do have, and I know I've told you guys before, the ClearGov, so we were trying to be transparent. We put it out in ClearGov. Anybody can go in and look up and get more information if they want to look one up. Yes, we're way behind on that because of the staffing issues, so hopefully, once I get back to a full staff, you know, we'll get back on that. It'll be out there for everybody to look at if they need to look something up. And the reason it's not out there is because I have to redact that report based on information. If there's some things on in their detail that, you know, is not for public knowledge. And it's usually not that much, you know, but it's just taking the time to go through each warrant.
Yeah.
So hopefully, you know, once we get the staff up, that will be back up online every month, the way it's supposed to be. And, you know, maybe it'll answer more questions, or if people have another tool to go and look if they need to look up something.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So now we'll just pick a date for May. Wow, time is flying. So the second finance of May, that would be
I'm sorry, what day are you looking at?
So that'll be May 16th.
okay. So May 16 at 6 p.m.
Okay.
So this meeting is adjourned and it's 6:49 p.m.